Hey guys, welcome back to Clownfish TV. This is Neon. I am here with Geeky Sparkles.
Hello.
And we're going to talk about Action Labs again. Going to do a follow-up on a video we did a couple of days ago. An update on Action Labs. Apparently there's been some action with Action Labs. I believe the head of the company has spoken to Bleeding Cool. And I believe that at least one creator got their deal sorted out because of the media backlash. Now, for those of you who didn't watch the previous video, Action Labs is an independent comic book publisher based here in the Pittsburgh area, actually.
It seems that way, yeah.
Yeah, and they do a variety of indie books. They also had the Miraculous license. I don't know if they still have it, but they were doing graphic novels and games and that sort of thing. Some of the books they published include Princeless, and I'm trying to think of some other stuff they've done over the years.
They've done some stuff.
They've done some stuff. They've done some stuff and things. Anyway, there have been a lot of complaints over the last couple days, especially that Action Labs has stopped paying creators. They're holding some books hostage. They're not going to press with some books, even ones that are finished. Word got around that there was a lawsuit over one book in particular, Zombie Tramp, which I do remember seeing this guy at Steel City, I think, before.
I think, yeah. Now I know one of the people, I think it was the Princeless guy, was telling them that if you want to talk to them, you can write them a message or something, and to work out your situation. And somebody else said that they wrote a message to the email that was given, and it was bounced back.
Yeah, so
there's that too.
Twitter's still very angry about this. We're going to talk about this because this opens up a whole nother can of worms. And there was one tweet, and I don't have it pulled up. Somebody put it out the other day, and they actually aren't wrong. They basically said that comic book creators, aspiring comic book creators, allow some publishers to get away with a lot of this kind of shit because they want to be published so bad that people jump at bad deals. But we're also going to talk about whether or not creators are expecting more from publishers than they should, maybe. I mean, at least,
or what they agreed to. I think what they agreed to, because it's all you agree to.
That's what you agree to. And if you sign a contract, you sign a contract. If you sign a shitty contract, you signed a shitty contract. And we're going to talk about, we'll bring Tokyo Pop into this because this kind of reminds me of the Tokyo Pop situation, because I guess Action Labs now is giving some of its creators the option to buy back the rights if they want to go self-publish their stuff, to buy the rights back.
Well, I think it's like they're buying the books back. The books are sitting there that they've been printed, and they want them to pay them back for the books.
Yeah.
Which,
I don't completely disagree with that. We're gonna talk because this gets very complicated.
It's very complicated. We've seen it before.
So before we get into it any further, please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. Over 234,000 subs.
Woohoo!
Thank you so much for the support. Yeah, if you go out and Google Action Labs or look for Action Labs on Twitter, you're going to find a lot of salt. You're going to have some people saying, hey, they're not going to stock any stuff. People talking about their terrible publishing deals.
So what's basically going on though is like some people had their books printed but they never were delivered, or some people didn't get paid. I'm trying to understand.
all of the above. Apparently there were a lot of problems.
For those who missed the other video. Yeah,
there were people complaining about a lot of problems, not getting paid, getting paid very, very low page rates, having their book held hostage. There's multiple teams out there saying that their books have been done for months or even years, and they're just kind of waiting to see what, and they're not allowed to take them anywhere else unless they agree to kind of buy out their contract. Here they're talking about their very low page rates.
Yeah, well, here's the thing. If you agree, you're going to get pissed at me. I don't care. If you took the page rate and you signed the deal taking that page rate, that's kind of on you.
Yeah.
If they didn't pay you for the page rate they promised, that's on them. But if you agreed to it, I'm not trying to be a jerk. I mean, we've done this before. We've been in the same situation. Like we've been there. These publishers, rely on the fact that people want a gig in comics or with their animated shows or whatever so badly that they'll take what they can get to make sure they're the ones that get paid to do it, and they can say I'm a pro. It's understandable why people will jump at it, but it's also like you agreed to it.
Yeah, and the thing is, a lot of these independent publishers are not really equipped to handle any kind of adversity at all. I mean, the closest thing I can think of, to this situation is actually Tokyo Pop. And Tokyo Pop's business model, kind of collapsed when the bookstores collapsed in 2008. They weren't getting paid, so they didn't get paid, so they couldn't pay people, and then they had to shut down production on some books. But then people had signed contracts that Tokyo Pop technically had the rights to their material for X number of years. They took an advance. And that's complicated. And it seems like I'm looking at the different deals and people talking about page rates and all that. And it seems like the deals are different for each creative team depending on what the project is. It does seem like
there's no consistency, or very little consistency.
With Tokyo Pop, and we'll just talk about just publishing in general. Then we'll go to this interview and see where things are at. But so in mainstream publishing, you're usually given... A lot of times you're given options, right? So comic book people are often shocked when publishers approach them with deals that basically require them to take some risk themselves. They don't like that. People think that, a company just magically has endless money and they're just going to throw ridiculous page rates at people even if there's no chance of getting that money back.
Right. Now, if it's we're not talking like the big publishers, even though they're heading that way too.
Yeah.
We're talking about like the smaller companies mostly, or independents.
Yeah. I mean, you look at these small companies and you look at their numbers. If you follow the numbers on like Comic-Con or whatever, you'll see a lot of these small publishers like Action Labs, like, Black Mask or whatever, Oni Press even, they're lucky if they sell 1,000, 2,000 copies of a book. Okay. So they're not going to be able to give you like a $200, $300, $400 page rate. There's no way in hell they'd be able to do that. So your page rates are going to be lower. Or what they'll do is they'll give you a back end deal, which is like, hey, we make a profit. You get some of that too. So you take some risk. Now, if you go to a mainstream publisher, and I'm talking like Scholastic or First Second or like a big publisher, a lot of times they will give you an advance. Okay. And the advance that they come up with, the number they come up with, is usually based on what their projected sales are, based on what the content is and who you are. And it can range for graphic novels, 5,000. We've heard at the low end, which is not good.
You're talking for like 2 or 3 years worth of work.
Yeah. Up to 25,000, 50,000, depending on who you are. But that has to be paid back. So just because you get an advance, they're not just giving you a bunch of money and then you're going to get a bunch more money when the book is published. They agree to give you effectively a loan based on how many copies they think they're going to sell.
A loan towards the sale of the book.
Towards the sale of the book. And you have to pay that back. So you don't get any additional money. So if they give you $25,000 until that book, all the costs are accounted for, and until that book makes, what would have been your $25,000 cut, you're not getting anything else.
Right. That's when we say earn out, that's what we mean. You earned back the money that was spent. Now it's the above and beyond that you get royalties or whatever. Right.
And sometimes what they'll do in lieu of that, and some authors are doing this, more often than not, because they're like, well, I'm not making enough money now anyway to even be worth it. I got to work a day job anyway or whatever. They will take a better royalty deal. So they'll be like, okay, instead of getting $1 a book, I'm getting $3 a book, but I don't get anything until the book's actually, market. And that's, if you're going to self-publish, that's basically the situation you're in.
Yeah.
Anyway, right? You take all the risk, you do all the work. So what happens, in the case of Tokyo Pop is they were actually giving, and we'll bring Tokyo Pop up here because a lot of people were slamming on Tokyo Pop 10, 12 years ago. Again, this is a thing, people went into it eyes wide open.
Well, they didn't have their eyes wide open. That's the problem. They, from my understanding, talking to people who were, both on both sides of it from Tokyo Pop, they actually would go over the contract with you to make sure you understood what you were signing. And we heard this from people who were creators as well as directly from the people who were behind it.
Yes.
And what happened was when the market crashed and everything went down, they said to people, well, if you want to pay $10,000, you can get your property back. Because when they agreed to it, Tokyo Pop gave them the advance towards the thing, and they had to pay them back for what they spent. That kind of sounds like what's going on here.
Yeah, with Tokyo Pop, they would give you $20,000 or $25,000 as I understand it, as an advance to do a Mera manga basically. And it didn't sell. Look, it didn't sell as well as regular manga because a lot of it was kind of obviously knockoff. It didn't have the brand recognition. It didn't look like like actual manga, a number of reasons. And, so a lot of these creators would not earn out. But then when they wanted to get their property back, because Tokyo Pop, part of that is they gave you an advance, but they also wanted, I think they either held on to your IP for X number of years or they owned part of it because they wanted to develop long-term. They wanted to do movie deals and animation deals and that sort of thing. If you wanted it back, lock, stock, and barrel, then you had to pay them back.
Now, some people did.
Some people did.
A lot of people complained about it. Thing is, it was all in the contract.
It was in the contract.
When people signed it. This is why we have told you before, and we'll tell you again 100 times over. Always read the contract. Always have somebody that's a lawyer or somebody that knows contracts on your side to read the contract as well. If you have an agent or somebody like that, they will read the contract and negotiate the contract. You have to read the contract.
Yeah.
Continue.
Yeah. So anyway, Twitter, again, having a meltdown. I would be angry too, but I also, I'm just going to tell you is, people that have been around the block a few times, we would have had our lawyer look at it and would have made sure that, if we had any questions, that we would redline those items and be
and it might cost you the deal. I'm not going to say it doesn't.
It might, yeah.
But the flip side is if it goes south like this, then you're kind of screwed.
Yeah. And, some publishers, if they're predatory, now I can't say what Action Lab's intentions are, but if they're predatory, they'll be like, well, these poor cartoonists aren't going to have any way to, sue us or anything. But one guy did. At least one guy did. This is Dan Mendoza, who sued over Zombie Tramp because apparently they were and we talked about that the other day. There's a lawsuit. Well, they've settled. This is the agreement that was reached. This is a statement they issued, and then Rich Johnson did an interview with the head of Action Labs. We're pleased to reach this agreement with Dan Mendoza. We'll allow Zombie Tramp fans to continue to follow Zombie Tramp's adventures as the title returns to Dan and moves forward. So they either settled with him and gave him the rights back, or he agreed to pay them whatever the dollar amount. I saw some people saying, well, they gave me a price of like $11,000, they gave me $15,000, whatever. And it's probably whatever their expenses are.
Probably what people were saying they had to buy the books. I think a lot of times that's probably what they spent on the books. They want to be reimbursed for that because you can't just walk away with the books.
And that was probably in the contract.
Yeah.
If
it isn't in the contract, then you probably have a good case to get your money back.
If it wasn't in the contract, but if it was in the contract, like you can return the rights. You can, if we fail on our end, and you want the rights to revert to you, you can do that, but you need to pay us back our investment.
To me, it sounded more like it was they wanted them to buy their books back they're sitting at Diamond. They wanted them to buy the books back, and it was about basically them recouping the cost of what they spent on printing the books is the way it sounded to me. I could be wrong. I think Diamond's partly responsible for this too, I would say, because they're the way they handled things during the pandemic really froze up a lot of comic publishers and a lot of books that didn't get put out like they were supposed to. I think they are probably, you can probably say, well, they're somewhat responsible for this as well. I mean, in my opinion, I think they are. I think it's weird that more small publishers haven't gone out of business because Diamond was sitting on people's money for that's
months.
pretty good for them, though. I mean, that they didn't, that they're still hanging on.
Yeah.
As long as they're not doing this. So.
Yeah, so, I mean, that again shows, how thin those margins are, though. Like, these small press publishers, they can't afford to miss a beat. They can't miss a month. Let alone 3 months, 4 months, whatever it was that Diamond was shut down, and they can't afford to, and this is what happens. Everything gets pushed back, and people don't get paid, and so this is a disaster. But apparently he's got Zombie Tramp back, which is good for him. Now there are other people out there that are not going to get their
they have
back.
to do different things. So go ahead. What were you? I didn't read this.
So here's the you can go out and I'll put a link in the comments to this. Rich Johnson actually interviewed Brian Seaton about it. This is Brian Seaton. This is what happened. Unfortunately, some of your statements above are true, talking about the situation with Action Lab. Not all of them. When the world shut down in March of 2020, we had no idea what was happening. He was on medical leave since November 2019, officially resigned from my position as CEO publisher of Action Lab in February 2020 for health reasons. I only remained as a member of the board of directors. Okay, so he's not in charge anymore, was no longer active. The president of Action Lab, Sean Pryor, resigned around this time as well. Okay. Oh, this is getting
Oh,
interesting.
this is getting interesting.
This, unfortunately, left no one steering the ship, so to speak. Well, who owns the company then? The board did not fill either position and felt the staff should be able to continue doing the jobs they have been doing for years. The staff did not feel supported by the board and not confident making decisions. It was a recipe for disaster. When Diamond shut down and informed all its publishers that until further notice, it would not be paying any money owed, which is what we speculated.
Yeah.
The board of directors felt the best course of action would be to comply with mandated COVID protocols and shut down operations, allowing everyone to collect unemployment.
Unfortunately, that doesn't help the creators of the book.
No, it does not, because you are a contract worker, you're a freelancer, and like we said before, technically, if you're a contractor and the company goes out of business, you just become a debt that they owe, and if they file for Chapter 11, you're going to have to chase them.
So Action Lab tried to reopen the end of July. However, the board of directors, after 3 to 4 weeks, decided to shut the company down again and it remained closed until spring of 2021.
All projects and releases have been postponed or canceled, except for a few of our in-house books we kept producing to help our work-for-hire artists. If you release an in-house book and sales numbers are low, you only hurt the company. However, if sales are low in a creator-owned work, you may have ruined the only chance the book will ever have for success. We acted the way we felt would be best for everyone. Well, they weren't answering emails.
So
That's not exactly,
no.
This sounds like they just, And I'm like, okay, so nobody's in charge of Action Lab?
Apparently not.
Look, we said before, this feels like a company getting ready to shut down.
It's no excuse, though. I mean, just because these people stepped down, they should have been replaced, or the board should have been responsible. You can't just say, "Oh, here's staff. You run everything," and put it on them.
We're currently relisting many of the books, the postponed books, and we still have under contract in a way that our limited staff can handle. All of our contracts automatically release the work, if not published, within 1 year final file submission. We are looking to expand our staff and still have many positions open.
Okay, wait. So they're going to release the work?
Yeah.
So it's not the work, but that's not what I'm hearing. It's like the copies of the books. Is that what's going on?
That's what I believe they have to pay. Yeah. There were people saying that they had, I'm not 100%
It seems
clear,
all over the place.
I think there are multiple problems. I don't think this is a one size fits all. Basically, it sounds to me like the people running the company just noped out for various reasons, and there's nobody steering the ship.
This is just like, if you want a case study in
what not to do,
and complete incompetence, this would be it. What I would say to creators is this. First, I apologize to every one of our creators for the lack of communication and any problems our shutdown has caused. No one at Action Lab is ghosting you or holding your books hostage. Any payments currently due creators have been paid. What we were doing is trying our best to live up to our contracts to the best of our ability in a pandemic. They're going to use that excuse. It sounds like they quit before the pandemic, though, and it was already kind of going in trouble before that. And we expect creators to do the same. Action Lab is financially very strong. Doesn't seem that way.
No, you're not.
And open for business, but it takes time to put the pieces together, and we need your help.
No.
Some of our contact lists have been lost due to the transition of staff, and many of you are trying to contact staff no longer with the company.
Did you not pay the email?
We need your help to fix this. Oh my God. So here's the email. If you're an Action Lab person, this is the email, okay? ALE creator at actionlabent.com. That's the email they give. ALECREATOR at ACTIONLABENT.com. And if you have a book under contract, please send us an email at your earliest convenience. And he came back in August 2021 after being day-to-day for almost 2 years. This is it. If you want a case study in incompetence, this would be it.
Rich Johnston, what do you think can be done to restore relations with these creators? First and foremost, better communication.
Oh, no shit. People were saying they were writing the emails and they were getting bounced back.
Apparently, I think I read that they posted the wrong email originally, but still, why do you think creators should trust you? I don't believe any creator should blindly trust any publisher.
Well, I agree with that 100%.
There was nobody running the company for a year?
I suggest they read our contract and handbook. New shit. We are very upfront about what we expect and live up to our contracts. We expect our creators to do the same. Therefore, it is important that creators ask questions and know what they're getting into before signing. Yes. Always check the contract.
Hey, Geeky, you want to buy a very, very used comic book company?
No.
I wouldn't want this.
I feel our contract's one of the best in the industry. Well, it seems like a lot of people disagree. And I stand by it 100%. Since 2010, we have put thousands of really great books for thousands of really great books for thousands of really great creators. I can't fix this past year, but I can make sure we move forward in the right direction. So you had nobody steering the ship before the pandemic. Then Diamond and the pandemic happened, and it all went to hell in a handbasket. And now that you're back, it's supposed to suddenly get fixed.
Oh my God. Well, here it gets worse. Company refused to participate in police and family questioning after one of their creators allegedly killed himself after finding out in the day of release that Action Lab forgot to tell him they weren't publishing his book. Holy God. I mean, I don't see how, honestly, you could hold somebody responsible for that, but I mean, that just shows how much people had invested in this, and then they just sort of like...
Look, we get it. You want to deal really bad, and you're willing to take whatever just to get. We totally understand, but you guys have to be smarter about this kind of stuff. You really, really do, and you need to check your contracts, which that's what they did. Well, you should have read the contracts. Basically, what they're saying.
Yeah, they give themselves an out.
They always do. They always win. The house always wins.
I would like to see one of these contracts because I'm thinking
that's what I like to see. I like to see one of these contracts
because I'm sure it's completely one-sided, but people will sign it because they're like, I get to have my name in print. Mm-hmm. Finally, it's the dream.
I mean, this is all speculation on our part without actually seeing the contracts, but there's a lot of red flags here.
Holy God. Okay. So there we go, guys. Action Lab Comics. That's what's going on. They just kind of checked out for a year.
I guess it's a good thing that when we wrote them about our comic, they wrote back and said, hello, Pratt.
Yeah, they couldn't get the name right.
And then they didn't. And then they didn't. It was like, no, we're not interested. So it's probably, we dodged a bullet on that one.
That's okay. We made 6 figures off a reprint.
Right. So there you go.
We're good. God. All right, so we're going to wrap this up.
Yep.
All right, so please subscribe for more pop culture news, views, and rants, guys. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.